We're afraid of what people will think, or we're afraid we're not good enough, or we're afraid we're too much. And so we hold ourselves back. When we do that, we're muting ourselves. And there are too many people that are muting themselves in the world. And I, for so many years, was one of them. I've discovered the power of unmuting myself, of showing up in the world in a way that is joyfully expressed and boldly alive. That's something that has been so important to me as I've discovered how freeing it is to be unmuted, to unmute our body and to unmute our ideas and to unmute our desires, to unmute ourselves in relationships and at work, and to be our own advocates and to ask for what we want and need. The unmuted life is a life that is fully alive and fully expressed and confident and clear. And to me, it's the only way that I know how to live now. I know what it's like to feel confined and stuck and small and silenced. And I also know what it feels like to be expressed and alive and joyful and present and seen. And it's so much better of a life to be unmuted. And that is what I want to bring you into. Are you ready to unmute yourself? Let's make it happen. Hey, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy Monday. It's so wonderful seeing your names pop up in the comments here. I know Zach is like super fan. Zach, good to have you back. I know Robert's with us today. Zach goes, love my unmuted Mondays. It's a great way to start the week, right? We're starting off the week with energy and with intention and with courage and clarity and storytelling and confidence. Germany is in the house. We've got an international audience. Amazing. Ross, we're going to talk about you today, Ross. Greetings from the brave little state of Vermont. We love the brave little state, the brave little beautiful state of Vermont. Side note, we need to add in that additional descriptor. So welcome, welcome, welcome. For anyone, if it's your first time, we're so glad to have you here. If you've come back for more, we're glad that you're back. We do this show every other week on Mondays. And it's such a delight. And shout out to Daniel Hall, Zach. Daniel Hall is the one who created that incredible intro video. There are people that are just so talented. And again, the power of LinkedIn is I know Daniel through LinkedIn, through Brian Schulman and Tim Sohn and Nancy Barrows. Like, it's just amazing what happens when you show up on this platform and you show up intentionally and you show up with the intent to serve and to give. Like, it's just amazing how many awesome things can emerge from it. And our guest today, who I'll get to in just a couple of minutes, is, I think, such a glowing example of that, of what it is to show up in service, to show up with kindness, to show up with heart and intention. You all, if you don't already know this person, you're going to be really, really excited to get to know her in our conversation together today. So before we dive into that, I want to share just a couple little updates. One, if you're not already subscribed to it, I've got I'm so honored, almost 8,000 of you that have subscribed to my LinkedIn newsletter that I put out every other week called Unmute Yourself. And the last issue was around burnout. I called it, We Don't Talk About Burnout. No. So for anybody that knows the musical reference, any Disney fans, you could drop in the musical reference to maybe what that, what that newsletter title was. One of the best Disney movies that's come out as of late. And if you want to drop it in the chat, if you happen to know. So I've got that coming. And then the other thing is I'm doing an event in connection with a woman named Melanie Hagan, who I worked with as a client over the past couple of years with her firm, doing some workshops for their employees. And she's started a nonprofit that's helping to guide women that are going through seasons of transitions. And so we are partnering together to raise money for an organization local to us called the Baltimore Leadership School for Young Women. And we're going to be focusing on doing this workshop, helping you to ignite an intentional new you, So we've got a link that we're dropping in that. Tim's dropped that in. Producer extraordinaire Tim Sohn has dropped that into the comments if you want to register for that and learn more about that event. So I think that's all we've got now for some of the housekeeping stuff. Now what I want to do is I want to introduce you to our guest. I feel like she doesn't even need an introduction on LinkedIn, but I'm going to give her one because it justifies. I think it helps just for those of you that may not know how awesome she is. So Rachel Beck is our guest today. And she is the author of the book, Finding Your Way When Life Changes Your Plans. I feel like automatically there's always already so much we can connect to like over that title in general. She is an international award-winning photographer who owned and ran a photography business in the Midwest for 8 years before becoming a full-time writer. Looking through the lens of the camera, she developed a unique perspective for dealing with myriad boulders that life has thrown her way, and now she weaves her vision into words. And she's also somebody who has done an incredible job of weaving other people's stories into words and inviting other people to shine and share, which is another reason I wanted to bring her on today. Her story began when she was born an orphan in a remote village in India and was later adopted and raised by a white Jewish family in America. She's an eternal optimist who has a bachelor's of general studies with minors in psychology and gender studies. And she keeps one goal in her heart, that her stories inspire and help out as many people as she can before she leaves this planet. So without further ado, I want to give a warm, unmuted welcome. Let's let her know in the chat how excited we are to hear from her. A warm welcome to Rachel Beck. Rachel, yay!
Good afternoon, and thank you so much for having me on the show, and thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. I just adore you. I absolutely do.
Well, you are beloved by many. I have to say, like, I've been following, for those of you who are not already following Rachel on here, like change that this moment. Because I started, before we even met, I was following what you were doing on LinkedIn because you share so much. You share so much in the way of that I think promotes kindness and insight and truth. And you are somebody who constantly is elevating the voices and stories of other people in a way that very few people, if anybody, really is doing on this platform. And I just, that's something that really has always stood out to me, how you do that. And so we're going to talk about that today. One of the things we're going to talk about. And Ross is very excited to see you.
Hi, everybody. I see a lot of friends that jumped in. Hello to everybody, and thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Yes, Maureen is here. And again, we've got Benjamin and so many, like, just so excited that all of you are with us today. You can let us know in the chat where you're joining us from, by the way. Let us know in the comments where you're joining us from. Maureen is here. Love it. Stephanie, amazing. So Rachel, one of the things I like to do when we get, as a way to get started on the show and for people to get to know you in a way that might not otherwise, is I like to do something where I invite you to find an item or object in your space that represents something meaningful to you. So, you can to find an item or object that represents something meaningful to you. You may have it. Yeah.
You know the most important thing? You really want me to get it? Like physically get it?
Yeah. Like physically get it. Like we've got a little music that we've got hanging around. We like to surprise our guests. Unmute yourself. Like actually get up and move. Yeah, for sure. Oh my gosh. Yes. Tell us more.
Okay, so this is my dog. He's a rescue dog. My friend was fostering him. He is my best friend. He keeps me safe. He's actually an emotional support animal. He's been trained. He's looking for bone right now. But because I have PTSD from a deeply tragic event, he is able, all the training that we've gone through as an ESA, he keeps my heartbeat down. He keeps me really safe. He's actually saved me from a couple of scary experiences. And he's my best friend. And people always ask me, like, what matters to you? That's it right here. He is my third foster dog. I've had two other who have passed away that were rescued. And yeah, he's my heart.
What's his name?
His name is Odie. Like, Odie? Are you Odie? Yeah, so he's my best one.
Oh, hi, Odie. Everyone, if you want to give Ross says dogs are love.
Yes, they are, Ross. I absolutely agree with you. Thank you, Mike. So he's, and I'm really big on rescuing dogs, and yeah, that's my guy.
So
He's
good.
like,
It's like he's done this before. It's almost
actually, this I will say this. He's popped in like sometimes on lives when he's like barking, or you'll see him running, like in the background or something. But yeah, he is the reason I would say this. And I'm just you're done. Okay.
you did so well, Odie.
You did good, Mike. Here's your book. For people who have, and I'm just sharing my experience, who have PTSD, every day is a challenge, right? Every single day is a challenge. So I'm grateful that he's by my side through the journey. I truly am. He goes everywhere with me, and yeah. So I'm sure that was a different scavenger.
I love it. It's so there's no expectation. It's just fun to see the things that we can learn. Oh, Brazil here, Phoenix, or
Hi, Robert. Hi, Will. Hi, Michael. I'm just
Bruce.
forgetting.
Bruce. Oh my gosh.
Hi, Zach. Hi, Ross. Hi, Stephanie.
Such a great crew with us today. I find that like when we get to share, when we get to see, and we've gotten to see into people's lives and homes like more than ever before in the past 2 years, but like I feel like I'm always going to remember Odie. And I just saw the movie Dog with Channing Tatum last night about,
I haven't seen it yet. Yeah.
so it made me think of like, oh my gosh, yeah, just how special and powerful those relationships can be. Like you will cry. Oh my gosh, if you see, like, you just like knowing the work that you do also to promote veterans and all of that, I think you would bring some tissues, all I will say.
And that's the thing. I mean, there is a lot. I've actually witnessed, because I have military in my family, and I've gone that have served in the Army.
Mm-hmm.
So I've gone and seen, some of the training that these incredible service dogs do for the military. And it's unreal. And yeah, it's rescue humans round too. I love that, Zach. We need more rescue humans. That was great.
Yeah. Hey, Will.
Yeah, they really are a gift. Hi, Mariah. Sending you love.
Oh, so good to have you, and Gretchen. Welcome. Well, I feel like, so Rachel, one of the things I want to do a couple of things today because I think there's certain things you have to share about your story that could really just inspire and uplift people and get them thinking. I feel like one of the things you do with like all the stuff that you share is like you get just people thinking and like being more intentional and slowing down and being kinder to each other and being more thoughtful in how we interact. And I would love if you could just take us through wherever you want to start and wherever you want to end. If you could think about maybe a situation in your life where you have felt muted in some way, whether it's like with your self-expression or going through whatever you want to talk about, you can take that wherever you want to go, and then we'll kind of follow you on your journey. And then eventually, would love to hear what are some things that you've done specifically to unmute that aspect of your life and find more aliveness, or to find more joy or more confidence or courage. We'd just love to, hear whatever you want to share on that.
So I feel like I unmuted myself about 5 years ago. I'm in my mid 40s, on my way to 50 climbing. And I'm okay with that because I love being in my 40s. I have felt muted most of my life. I felt like I always have felt like I have to conform to fit the way society tells us to be, but I've let go of that. I really don't care anymore. And there's a lot of freedom in there where you say, I'm just going to be who I want to be. So much of my life was like laid out for me, and it's not that way anymore. And a lot of my life has been out of my control. So I've learned to go with the flow more because it's become necessary. I use my voice to stand up for racism. I use my voice to stand up for anti-Semitism because I am an Indian Jewish woman, which is not easy. I use my voice to speak up for, women. I use my voice to speak up for males who have been wrong. I'm just at a point in my life where no one will ever meet me again. And it takes a long time to come to that place. But when people are like, oh, you shouldn't talk about this, you should no. I'm gonna have the hard conversations, because the only way to take this world forward is by having those very hard conversations that people don't want to have.
Yeah. Yeah. They do. And where do you feel like, so you say about 5 years ago, I'm curious, like what specifically, if to, whatever you want to share, what happened, what do you feel like was a catalyst for you making that shift? Because I think a lot of people feel that way of like, oh, there's things I want to say or I want to share, but I don't want to go into uncomfortable places, or I don't really know what to do once I get in there. Like if I initiate the conversation, then I get stuck in it, I get blindsided. Oh, I don't want to say the wrong thing or whatever. Like I'm curious what your path was to get to the place from where 5 years ago something changed. So what was that thing that changed? Was that catalyst moment?
I can tell you. I'll be very honest with you. You and I had a long discussion about it on the phone one day. I think when I battled endometriosis for 20 years, right? On and off, and I'm just sharing my experience, and this is my medical disclosure. And I slowly had parts of my body cut out, right? And I donated my ovary to science to help find a cure for endometriosis. And then about 5 years ago, I had to undergo a hysterectomy. And that is when I said, okay, I'm done, because it started that was it. I was going to take back everything that I had lost. And I felt that I had people tell me you're not a woman anymore because you had a hysterectomy. Well, that's not true at all. And I also use my voice for the infertility and the hysterectomy community. So I took it all back. I was done, with society telling me I'm not a woman because I'm not a mom. I was done society telling me I'm not a woman. Those internal parts don't make who you and I are as women. It's part of us, of course, and of course, I was concerned. I was like, oh my gosh, am I still going to feel like a woman after I go through this process? That was the moment. That was the moment when I woke up and was recovering from the surgery and said, okay, I have a whole new journey that I'm about to get on. And if I don't use my voice to help women get through that experience, because it is a deeply emotional experience. It's very deep and it's very emotional.
Yeah, and I think it's something that people feel alone in because it's not something they may necessarily broadcast or talk about. You know what I mean? Like, I think even like I was talking to a friend yesterday who has one kid and has gotten social pressure from her family to have another kid, but she and her husband are already like wiped out at the end of the day. And they're like, maybe we want to have one kid, or like, I'm almost 38 and I've, had, I don't have kids yet. And we do want to, but it's something I've wrestled over. It's not something I was like always sure about. I'm like, I don't know. I don't really know if I want to. And it's like, there's really I feel like society in general creates spaces. Hi.
Yeah. Thank you, Jack. That was extreme. Yes, it is. And there's pressure here. So, it's just compassion, right?
Yeah.
It's like being a compassionate human being. And it's about, so every Mother's Day, here's a perfect example, right?
Yeah.
I tell people on social media, I'm going to be doing it again. Come here, Odie. Come here. Someone outside. Sorry, someone outside my door. I put a post out every Mother's Day and Father's Day asking people to be compassionate, because not everybody's a mother. Not everybody is a father. That's the reality. And I ask people to stop asking that question. Do people have children? Because for some people like me who have lost 2 children, through miscarriages, it's a trigger. And I ask people, stop asking that question. Stop asking people that. Now, I also have a lot of girlfriends. I have 7 best friends that are girlfriends. Some don't want to have children by choice, and that is their choice. Yeah. It's just a choice. It's not the path of life that they want to do. So I'm trying to get people to stop asking that question, especially on the platform. I get it so much, do you have children? And people don't realize that sometimes that question could be a trigger for a lot of people. So people need to stop asking that on this platform. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair, because there's, I think to your point, there may be people that by choice or not by choice, and like either way, it can be something that unless you have a close enough relationship with somebody to be able to ask things like that, there's just some.
And it's not like a question. So like none of us. Come here, Odie. Literally someone outside my door. Sorry.
Odie doing his job, protecting you. Gretchen. Gretchen nailed it.
That was hysterical. Come here, buddy.
Gretchen's like, look, Odie is just being the protector that Odie is.
He's like, there's someone outside. I'm doing my job.
Odie, look, your name's on the screen. Anyway.
So it shouldn't be a question that's asked anymore in society. Like none of my best friends or my family, we don't ask people. He's done. We do not ask people this question. We just don't ask people this question. If somebody wants to volunteer and like share that information with them, it's fine. And here's the other thing. Some people like a little privacy. There are like certain things that people do not want to discuss on social media. They just don't want to do it. And that's okay. Some people don't discuss their children. Some people don't discuss if they're married, if they're single. And you're entitled. You're absolutely entitled to not discuss any of that.
Yeah.
You don't want to do it.
Yeah.
That is somebody's choice. I mean, you and I have talked about there's something called like oversharing too.
Mm-hmm.
There's certain things that if people want to do it, they do it. I share a lot. Why? With the idea of helping people.
Right. But not everybody. And I think sometimes people put pressure on themselves like, oh, this person's sharing all these things about themselves. I have to too. Make sure to your comfort level. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like
Absolutely.
Your comfort level. And that may vary, and the thing about social media is once you put it out there, it's out there, and so make sure that you're doing it not to meet somebody else's expectation, but because you genuinely feel called to share that thing. I think that's important.
And you said it perfectly. So I don't have expectations of people, Rachel. I don't. I actually like to be like pleasantly surprised by people because I've learned in my past, and I can remember the last time I know exactly what moment when I gave up on expectations of people. So I like to be like pleasantly surprised. So if people let go of people's expectations on this platform, they're going to take a deep breath and they're just going to breathe. They're just going to take a deep breath and they're going to breathe. I had somebody write me I should be available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which for me was that person's expectation, thinking them and do that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So that to me, yes, thank you, Mariah.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, if you truly care about people on this platform and you care about the content creators on this platform, you're going to want them to take care of themselves.
Yeah. And I'm curious, what led you, Rachel? When did you start? So one of the things everyone that I know a lot of you probably know this because I'm sure a lot of you are already following Rachel, but one of the things that she does that I think is really cool is she has conversations with different people that have something to say. And she brings their stories onto the platform and she'll do it in like different little snippets. So you'll get to hear really kind of, I feel like in a deep way from somebody over time. Hey, from Nashville.
Yes. And, love Tennessee.
Love a little bit of Nashville.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm curious, when did you start doing that? So when did you start reaching out to people to have these conversations that maybe other people weren't having? And can you think of a conversation you've had that's really stood out to you as being particularly impactful, being particularly even transformational or insightful for you or for people watching? Like, I'm just curious, how did that start? How did you start unmuting yourself and other people in that way? And what's maybe a story that stands out to you that's really struck you?
I can remember that moment. And I woke up, it was March is 3 years, right? We've been in the pandemic. I woke up and I saw, in the news, US was getting, lockdown, right? It was that March. And I said, oh my gosh, my network's going to freak out, right? They're locked in. They're going to be very, very scared. They're not going to know, what to do. How are they marketing their business? For people like you and me, I've worked from home for 15 years. So it wasn't such, a shock. And I realized that they need help. I wanted them to be motivated. I wanted them to be inspired. I wanted to get them through this pandemic. And then I realized I use my voice to humanize social media. People are obsessed with numbers. So I decided, okay, every human being, every number that people see inside my network is somebody who represents a real human being. So I said, okay. And I just woke up that day, and I've been doing the show for 3 years in order to help my network shine the light on them. And there are so many gifted, talented people, and all they need is someone to give them a chance to say, this is who I am. Yeah. And every person I have on the show deeply impacts me. I learned just as much as people are watching, and I learned so much from the guests on my show. I'm very specific about who I pick. So if someone gets a DM, it's because I've built a relationship with them. I know they're kind, they're respectful, they have something to. You're coming on my show. I'm so excited about that. And I look for that, right? I look for that. Hi, Jill.
2 Rachels, how exciting. 2 for 1, bonus.
It's not the same way. So it's important to shine. Some people just need a chance, right? And here's the thing. If you have a network and you have people who are reaching out to you and saying, Rach, I have something serious going on in my life. Can you please help me? They'll say, okay, my daughter has cancer. I'm trying to raise money. Or we're trying to raise money for this. Then it is your responsibility to use your network to help your network. It is a symbiotic relationship, and that is something I see every day that people are forgetting.
Yeah, it's so true. And I think of sometimes people are surprised too when you actually respond to them, because they're just so used to having things go into a black hole.
Yeah.
That they don't necessarily expect people to say anything back. And I remember there's somebody who has been supporting my work on here for a couple of years, and shared with me just a lot of things that that they're going through, and that their mother is leading into dementia, and just the that the stress that's putting on him to have to deal with that. And so he was just kind of pouring out his soul to me, and we had built up a relationship. That's the other thing. It's building up a relationship really makes a difference, because if you just kind of cold bomb somebody and you have no relationship with them, you have not interacted with them, you don't know anything about them, it's a bit harder to say oh, is this person crossing a line completely, that this is just not my, they need a therapist and not me, right? Perhaps that may be the answer. But if it's somebody that I've built a relationship with, and we've connected and had different interactions along the way, and they reach out and say, hey, I'm having a hard time, and then I just leave audio messages. I love the audio message. I know we use it too. The audio message feature on LinkedIn messaging, to just send a note, but here's some resources you can check out. Here's something to think about. Here's something that might be helpful for you as you're navigating this. And just sent 3 voice messages, which took me all of 3 minutes to do. And he was the thing that was so helpful. We need to be intentional with how we show, people remember, but is it people are Maya Angelou, people remember how you make them feel, we want to, and you're somebody I think who really makes people feel seen.
Yeah. And it's important, because we all remember how, people treat us, how we feel. What people are missing is that social media is a massive responsibility. Yeah. It is a huge, huge responsibility, and it's not for the faint of heart at all. It's not all fun and games, because like you said, people are dealing with really serious things in their lives right now. Very, very serious. And so if they said, Rach, I need help, right? And I'll do what I can. That's why I ask people, stop blocking the DM, because I'm looking for the souls that are reaching out for real help. and then I try my best to do what I can, right? There's not, yes, yeah. No.
Zach.
Thank you, Zach. So it's important for us to, you won't be remembered in this time in life. I'll be brutally honest with you, Rachel, if you are not an empathetic human being.
Yeah.
That's the truth. That is, I look for the empathetic souls every weekend when I'm, going around and I'm engaging. I'm looking for those selfless people.
Yeah.
I'm looking for those souls that are actually want to make a difference and aren't just about, them,
Yeah.
right? Because in this time in life that we've all been experiencing, none of us is about us.
No.
And you almost said a word, sorry. You have a responsibility right now to do the right thing in this moment of history.
Yeah. Tell us more about that. So like when you think of, you mentioned some of the difficult conversations you have, or the conversations that, maybe you're uncomfortable. I'm curious, like, what are some things that you found help to navigate those conversations? And what are some things that you really feel called to speak into, just like from your experience? What do you feel called to speak into, to unmute yourself around? And what are some maybe specific or practical ways that you're doing that? I'm curious.
I'm using my voice as an adoptee. Everybody speaks for us. And I'm deeply passionate about us speaking for ourselves. So I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to give support I just gave the most important speech in my life in November. Which is for the adoptee community. We need to speak for ourselves, and it's important. It's the same thing if I go into books, and I've done a lot of research on it. Like, I took a whole family class in university, studied it. And still to this day, if I'm in a bookstore and it's about adoption, I flip it over to see if the person was adopted or not. I do. I'm not saying, and I've read some incredible books around the subject, but I still want to connect with that person. It's like, okay, well, this person's been adopted, not adopted, hasn't gone through those experiences. Part of that, Rachel, is we've been having to conform our whole life. We've had to fit in our entire lives, and it's hard, right? It's very difficult.
Yeah, and I'm curious, like when I think about your book that you wrote, and I know we have the link to that, we can drop that in the comments too, so people can check it out and buy your book. But I know that you go by your biological name, V. Lakshmi. Do you want to tell us anything about the journey that you've had of, like, I would imagine there's a bit of just a journey you've had to go through around identity, right? Because like name is so connected to identity in a way that I think most people don't consciously think about on a daily basis or if ever. So I'm curious to learn more about that journey.
Yeah, I used my biological name. It's my pen name, as an author, because it's all I have from my biological family. It was really important for me to honor that I did come from India, and that's where my roots started. And I go back there and I stay at the orphanage, and part of the book is being donated back. Part of the proceeds are being donated back to the orphanage. So my identity, I've struggled with that my entire life. I've never fit in anywhere. When I didn't fit in until I got on a plane for my first trip going home to India. And I got off the plane and the doors opened at the airport, and it was like 3-4 in the morning because it's a 24-hour trip to India. But that was the first time I felt like I fit in. And that's the feeling I get when I'm there, like every trip I do to India. So yeah, I've struggled with my identity my whole life. And you have to imagine, I'm not biologically connected to my family, right? So I obviously don't look like my mother or father, and that's a big question we get all the time when we're together is, how come you don't look like your daughter? How come you don't look like your mother? So it's a constant struggle. These are questions that come up all the time for me. Yeah.
What do you wish people knew about what it's like to be in that spot for you? What do you wish people knew?
I wish the rude ass questions that people, it's the only way I can say it, ask me, that they would realize how hurtful and painful they are. You see how I am with people. You and I talk on the phone. Like
Yeah.
I consciously treat people the way I want to be treated. I don't ask for a lot. Be kind, be respectful. When you're good with me, it's not that hard. So I wish that people would think before they speak. I wish people would think before they write. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
It is, and to remember that behind all this on social media, you and I are real human beings with a heart and soul. I got a nasty ass comment Saturday night from a guy. I'm like, I'm done. Goodbye. Like, so that we are real people.
Yeah. Yeah, worthy of respect, and to be sure we show up that way. I think sometimes it's easy on social media for people to just be like, I said my piece, and then like walk away. To your point about having responsibility, you have a responsibility. Like, I mean, when I'm writing a comment in response to somebody, like I'm really yes, Stefan, yes,
Thank you,
always kind
Stefan.
when necessary. Like always there. I just got a little pewter. My niece had a birthday party on Saturday at a tea room. And I got a little pewter dish that says, always be kinder than you have to be. Because like, why not? So Stefan, we are
right there with you. Yes.
we're totally tracking. Stepping into and prioritizing responsibilities is far more soul gratifying and helpful to others than holding on to our perceived rights. Your responsibility minded prioritizes humanity and kindness. Yeah, Gretchen. And that's the thing is like, when you think about it, like if I'm leaving a comment in response to somebody, you know, I appreciate the fact that someone took the time to like watch a video or read an article or read a book and then took time out of their day.
That's right.
And you do this all the time, Rachel. Like you are somebody like, and you're always somebody who's like everyone needs to follow you, my friend. Like you're so sincere about it. And you're like, not only are you bringing, you know, attention to that person's share or story or whatever it is that they're putting out in the world, but then you're also saying like, and I'm doing this so that other people see this, so that other people know about you and get to be impacted by your light. Like you just like let it shine with everything you do on. I mean,
well, I'm conscious about it. I'm very conscious about it. Right? I look for, here's the reality of the reach. The hate groups across this world have a very large voice, right?
Mm-hmm.
Organized, they just have a very large voice. I would like, and there are many people on this platform, for the voice of kindness to be as large.
Yeah.
And I think it's possible. The problem, there are people who are working on it on the platform. I think that it is very, very possible for us to do this and that we can silence the hate. The problem is it needs to be more organized. It needs to be, put together more. Yeah. And to explain to people that is never, ever true that kindness is weakness. It takes a tremendous amount of strength to be kind on social media. Yeah. A huge amount of strength.
It does, because it's easier to just like, and I love how Toby said, Toby's so kind and so thoughtful. Like everything Toby ever writes, I'm like, all right, I'm going to get ready for like a mini dissertation because she's going to share something. And I mean that in the best way. I'm like, she's going to share something that's going to make me think, that's going to hold me accountable, that's going to make me feel responsible in the best way. Like Toby's awesome. And I love how she says like, you know, could this be said more kindly? Like how different, Rachel, could you imagine if that alone were an intention that each of us set on a daily basis? Could this be said more kindly? The world would change.
Let me share something with you very interesting. You'll love this. Okay. Oh. So I was taking cognitive psychology years back. Mm-hmm. Right. And this kid in the class, one of the students in the class raised his hand, and we were talking about negativity, negative comments, just criticism, all the nastiness that is. And this kid raised his hand and was like, he was sharing, he was dealing with negative comments and the way people are coming at him. And the professor said that for one negative comment you hear in the day, it takes 10 positive comments to erase that. And we all sat there and he said it again. And he asked us, he said, so what words are you putting out into the world?
Yeah.
It takes 10 positive comments to erase one. You'll never see me write a negative comment. Do you know why? Because people's lives are negative enough right now. They're hurting. I don't know what they're, necessarily dealing with in their lives, or maybe they're not sharing. But I can tell you this much: they're already dealing with people coming hard at them with their negativity and their hate, and they're spewing, tearing them up for their looks, tearing them up for everything.
Yeah.
So if it takes 10 comments to erase that one, I'm definitely going to do my job to make sure at least it erased one of them.
And I love what Mo says here. Like, her boss asked her, like, manager asked me how I can be so nice, happy, and kind all the time. I told her I might be that one kind and happy experience a person has that day, right? And if that's what they needed to see light to a brighter day, I'm happy to serve. Like, Marianne's another amazing person who just like I've gotten to know through this platform and through Instagram. And she is really so intentional. And yes, and I love Stefan, right? Yesterday I was clever, so I want to change the world today, and why? So I'm changing myself. Like, it starts with us. Like, we can't control a lot of things. We have learned that, right? But we always can control, right? Viktor Frankl, like, between stimulus and response is a space, and in that space lies our power to choose our response. And like, this is somebody who's a Holocaust survivor, right? Like, who can say, like, we have the power to choose how we respond and how we show up, Yeah.
Do you think it's easy? Do you think you don't think that I don't bite my tongue some days? Of course I do. I've had to do it many times. I've had to, and it's not a matter of me not standing up for myself, because I do stand up for me. My network will stand up for me. Someone writes a nasty comment in the comment section, some of my network will address it. And I do stand up for myself. But people are looking to pull you and me down. So what do? They screenshot our conversations in DM. I woke up about a year ago, and this guy said, "I'm going to take down your whole career." Seriously, I woke up to that message. I'm going to take down your entire career. And it was due to because I didn't want to go on a date with him, which was just but he thought that was the way to go about it, which obviously was not. So, we can set the example. If someone is unkind to me, and I go through many experiences around this, I move on. I think silence says a lot. I think that we can be classy. We can be elegant. I'm not going to give my attention because that's what they want.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do it. I'm going to spend the attention on the people who need it and are appreciative and are grateful.
Yeah.
I'm going to do.
Yeah. It's like, I think there's a quote I heard, I don't know who said it, Ask for the Grouch or something, like, be kind to unkind people, they need it the most. Like, when you think about someone who's being unkind, they're hurting. Like, somebody who's showing up with unkindness or vitriol or whatever to or is being rude, right? Hi, Rich. Good to have you here, Rich. We love seeing you. That, like, when they're choosing to be that way, it's coming from a place of pain, and their pain is not your responsibility. Like, you don't have to take on their stuff. And to your point, focus more on the people that you want to support. And if someone, like, I've had someone say something unkind, like somebody posted something, I shared a quote, quotes from a book that I found really valuable. And a bunch of people were like, that book changed my life. That book saved my life. And then somebody wrote a comment that, like, I think this book is totally overrated. And okay, like, this cannot be your favorite book. That's okay. But instead of like feeding the wolf, right? It's like, which are you going to feed? Instead of feeding that wolf of like defending myself of like, well, no, I think this book is great. I can say, hey, we can agree to disagree. And it's okay if people have different opinions about what they think is great. What are some books you think are great? Like, there are ways that you can diplomatically handle conversations on social media with people that are just like looking to pick a fight.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I tell my network this. I tell them, like, every Friday I want you tips for success. There is so much possibility.
Yeah.
On this platform. There is a huge amount of opportunities. There's a huge amount of everything. If you're a kind, respectful person. So if someone comes to me, right, and says, Rachel, what do you think of Rachel? And because people do this to me all the time, and I go, yes, you definitely need to connect with her. You definitely need to fire. You definitely need to hire them. I know how professional they are. And so I'd say, yes, please hire my friend Rachel. she's a complete professional. That's how it works on this platform, and that's what people are kind of missing.
Yeah.
So if I've studied, because I study behavior every single day, like that's why I'm minored in psychology. I study it on this platform every single day.
Mm-hmm.
That's how opportunities comes. That's how jobs come. That's how someone standing behind you. So when I jump on your post, I'm like, people need to follow you. I'm doing that for a reason. Why? You're a complete professional. Also, I'm behind you and I stand behind you. So this is what people is missing. You and I are very conscious of every word that we put out on this platform.
Yes.
Right? I wouldn't do any, I mean, even though I work for myself and I have for 15 years, I wouldn't do anything to ruin my career. Either would you.
Yeah.
And so when people are like, it's not going good, it's not going good. And then sometimes I'll look back and I'm thinking, oh, well, you probably shouldn't have written that comment, or you shouldn't have done it that way. Because HR, the first thing they do, and I've had HR people on the show,
Mm-hmm.
they jump on and guess what? They get that resume and then they're going to your LinkedIn feed. They're going to see, what did you comment on? What were your words? I've had HR people on the show explaining that.
Mm-hmm.
So if people are not conscious of that everything they say or do on this platform is going to affect their future chances.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, think about it. Like, ask yourself before you share, like, what is it like? Is it true? Is it kind? Is it respectful? Is it adding value? Maybe it's like, ask yourself these filters, like what other filters? So is it true? Is it kind? Is it adding value? Is it respectful? I'm just curious, are there any other filters that you would like think of guiding people through?
Yeah, someone had passed on this amazing advice to me once. Ready? I'm going to share it. It was back in like 2007 or something. I was dealing with an extremely difficult situation. I'll just leave it at that. And she had said, like, the words that you're saying, that you're putting out into this world, is it going to help you, help the person you're communicating? I had someone who had done something really unkind to me, and I was trying to process all of it. Is it going to help you, help the relationship, or help a future? And it made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Like what you're saying every single day, no matter where you are, what relationship, it's your best friend, it's your family, it's, somebody on LinkedIn, to think about that. Is it helping, or is it gonna hurt? Here's the thing. You and I both know people are going to say stuff to us. It's part of what you and I do.
Sure.
We also, here's the other side of it, we get to choose our response and how we handle it. We're conscious of the words we put out into the world. We do it every day. We're deeply conscious of every word, everything I write, everything I say. I am deeply conscious about it.
Yes.
But if someone's not that way with us, that's a whole other story.
Yeah. And that's not ours to own. Like, if someone's going to be that way, like if I've had people put stuff out on social media before that, like, in some way was a ding on me publicly. Maybe I wasn't named, but I knew it was about me, and it's really hurtful. And I'm like, I just would never, to your point, there's already so much negativity in the world that, like, why, when we have the choice, what we put into the world, why in that massive void would we put anything other than something that is going to be a positive contribution in some way? And positive contribution can be having a difficult conversation, and it can be holding somebody accountable. It doesn't always mean that, like, it doesn't mean brushing things under the rug, but like, when we have a choice about what we can post about or what we can share about, like, I'm with you. I'm always thinking through, like, how can I be a source of goodness or kindness or hope with my words. And I assume every comment I write, every post I share, I'm like thinking through that, like, everyone could see this. Right. And so I'm very mindful and cautious and, like, in what I'm saying. And there's some things that, I remember years ago when I worked for somebody else, I was in the wellness industry. There were certain people that were just really vindictive in the space, that were just literally trolling LinkedIn, looking to, like, elevate their agenda and destroy the agenda of this other organization. And I got caught in the middle sometimes. And Bruce, we are so glad that you're here.
Thank you, Bruce. Thank you for coming. Thank you, everybody, for showing up.
Oh, yeah. Gosh, Ross. Let's touch on. So anyway, that can happen. And then I chose at a certain point, people were saying things, and I was like, I had DM conversations with them, and I was like, look, I'm very intentional about how I structure my platform. I know that you know this. What you want to post on your page is your business, but if it ends up on my stuff, that's like an issue. And so we need to have a conversation. Like either you need to take that down, like it was something that's just like blatantly unkind and uncalled for and vindictive and rude. And I said, either you need to take that down, you need to modify it, or I'm going to take it down. Here's our options. Like I've had that conversation with people that I had a relationship with. Like I was in a place where I could do that. And I've had people that other people are really bullied by that have backed down because I held them accountable. Like,
and that's part of it. That's something that people need to know. I tell people all the time, content creators are extremely close friends. So if like I'm on your post and someone's disrespecting you, I stand up for my friends. Not that you can't stand up for yourself, because I know you would, right. But I would still come up there and go, please, please be kind to my friend Rachel. Yeah. Like, please be kind to her. Like she's loved on this platform. We care about her.
Yeah.
So like, that's all we can do is just keep creating what we're doing, right? Yes. Keep doing love, kindness, and respect, because that is the door that opens so much on this platform. And it still amazes me because some people don't get it.
Yeah.
Still don't get it. But for the 99% of people who do get it, I applaud them. Because they're taking it in, they're spreading that message, and I applaud them for doing it.
Well, speaking of that, I want to applaud somebody who's been with us the whole day today, Ross Gibson. So this power of LinkedIn. Here, everybody, this is a story about the power of LinkedIn, about like you never know where something's going to end up. So shout out Ross. So I posted a video. I hadn't posted a video in a while, and I posted a video walking outside talking about the importance of unmuting yourself, which is like obviously my whole message. And I just felt in the moment, sometimes we get inspired and we'll just like turn on the camera, press record, go, one and done. And I posted this and I mentioned something about singing in it. I forget the fullness of the video. And then I get a message from this guy, Ross Gibson, who I have never met before. And he is helping to organize the Vermont State SHRM Conference, the Society for Human Resource Management. And I've worked with HR professionals my entire career because I worked in employee benefits for 13 years before going on my own. So I work with SHRM chapters and the national conference and state conferences. I've keynoted and stuff before. And he didn't know that, right? He wouldn't have known that. He saw a video and then was like, I want to connect with you. And then I get on the phone with Ross to talk about the conference. And he's telling me about who the other keynote speakers are. And he goes, oh, and Rachel Beck. And at the moment I was like, Rachel Beck is going to be speaking there. Rachel's awesome. Like, so, and it's all through LinkedIn. So I don't know if you want to share. Yeah, come to Vermont and see us live.
And one of our friends is going to. I mean, it's just, and I was excited because I got the text. Ross, we're so excited to be with you in September and do this with you. And so that's exactly how it works, right? So let's say someone writes me a message and says, "Hey, Rach, who do you recommend? What speakers can we bring in?" I'm going to get, I'll send them X, Y, and Z and send them people. Why would I do that? One, because maybe my friend needed help, getting speakers for that day. But of course, I'm going to recommend people who are professional. That's number one. If I vouch for somebody and I'm going to pass them over to someone and make a recommendation, and I do this all the time publicly, I do it on your posts and different people's posts. It's really important that people live up to that recommendation. Yeah. And that's something that, I've heard stories where people recommend somebody and then it was a horrible experience, it was a terrible experience, but it breaks your heart to hear that. Yeah. So yeah, it's exact. So we're so excited to be in Vermont with Ross.
Yeah. And meeting in person. That's the cool thing is like the power of this community is like, it's funny because when you meet somebody in person, you feel like haven't we met before? Because we've met online, and it's still real. Like these connections are very real, like people, I think sometimes downplay that too.
Oh, it's a very real relation. I have met a lot of people in person. right?
Yeah.
I met a lot of people in person, and it's like we've known each other forever. You know,
Yeah.
like some of us, we talk to each other. You're welcome, Ross. You're most welcome. We talk to people. We see each other every day, right? We tell people it's a virtual office, and these are real relationships. These are real friendships. So yeah, if you and I, you know, we walk in and we sit down, we have coffee. We're gonna go out to dinner. It's like we've known each other forever,
Yeah.
and it's not like day one. Hi, Rachel. It's very nice to meet you. No, it's like, what's up? Let's go. Yes. So that it is real relationships that are made on this platform.
Yeah. Yeah, I think something that keeps coming up for me, Rachel, and I would love for folks that are with us, whether you're with Team Replay or Team Live, to drop in the chat that I can't get this out of my head, this idea of this alliteration relating to who are your online Odies. Who are the people? So like Rachel shared her dog earlier, Odie. I'm curious, like for people who are with us, like you feel free to tag or drop someone who's an online Odie, who's somebody that just like you feel like is there for you, somebody who is by your side, somebody who is supportive or encouraging. I know that yes, and Jill, we will
That
absolutely.
is so cute. That's so, I just have to put that. It's an emotional support system.
Yes, who is your emotional support system on this platform? Like,
Yeah.
give them some shout outs and some love. And I guess as we're kind of wrapping up our conversation, I have two things I want to ask. One is there any other insight for someone who is looking? I mean, you so consistently show up on here. Is there anything that you think about if someone is maybe holding themselves back in some way, or they're not showing up in the way that makes them most excited? Like when I see you show up, I'm like, I can tell you're excited to be there. I can tell you're present. I can tell you want to be doing it. I don't know. I guess any insight you'd share with someone that might be feeling like
Day one, that they're standing on day one, kind of.
Yeah.
Where I would say don't let anybody push you into doing something before you're ready. It took so for like 2 years I did text. Those were my posts, right? I did written text, right? And then one day after I had written a post and it was like huge, and I had asked what's going on in your lives, share your stories with me. I was so, and the post kept going, and I was so deeply moved and touched. I was crying because of what people were sharing. It was the next day I turned on the camera for the first time and did a video. And I just did a video saying, my name is Rachel Beck. Thank you so much for sharing your stories with me. Because I was so, and people were like, oh my God, you're a real person. Like, doing texts and stuff. But I would say don't push people till when they're ready, they're ready. And so what I do now is, so if someone says, they'll say, oh my God, Rach, I'm doing my first video today. I jump on there and say, congratulations. I still remember that moment of the courage it took me to do that first video. I should repost it. It was like a hot mess, right? It was a hot mess. But the feeling of just saying thank you because you opened up your heart and souls. I find it's very necessary for you to see my real face today. Yeah. So it takes a lot of courage. It takes a tremendous amount. And I was so moved by the love and support I got on my first video, and now I'm trying to pay that forward to the people. Mm-hmm. So don't push people. People are ready. Like I had people long time, Rach, you need to do video. You should do video. You should do video. I remember it. I got up, had my cup of coffee, and I just said, today's the day.
Yeah. Oh, this is awesome. I cannot believe we're at the end of our conversation. I would love for everyone who's been with us today. Again, so many of you have just been the best. Feel free to drop in, like, what's the greatest gift maybe that you're taking away from this conversation? Or if you want to give a shout out to your online Odie, shout out to
Oh, my rescue. Yes, Randy. Oh my gosh, Randy. So Zach, I know exactly who you're talking about. We adore Randy. Oh, this is so cute. Oh,
online Odies. Michael Ray. Yes, Michael Ray is a Ray.
Michael Ray is my angel. He's a very, very special human being. And I've been with him, in person. He's a very special person.
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. We'll keep these coming. I mean, whether you're with us whether you're with us live or otherwise. But I just want to say, Rachel, thank you for shining your light, for being somebody who every single day shows up with intention. And Robert, yes, thank
Yes,
you.
Bob, thank you so much for your comment. Thank you for everybody who showed up today, and thank you for your comments and your support. And there's not a day that goes by that we're not grateful. We are not here without you, and that's what people are missing. It is a together unit. That's how it goes.
It is. It is. And so people the world's full of lovely people, and their worth is so much greater than the haters. Greater
Yes.
than the haters. Hashtag greater than the haters.
Yes, I like that a lot.
What a great way to leave it. Rachel, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This has been amazing. Everyone follow Rachel if you're not already. And just been such a joy having you. And I can't wait to flip things and have our conversation that we're going to have, and to meet you in person in Vermont in September.
Yes, and thank you for the beautiful singing voicemails. I just love them. And they're so sweet, and they like make my day. When I hear you like, hey, I can't sing, so I'm not even gonna try to do this. I can dance, but I can't sing. But when I hear you singing like on my voicemail, it just lights me up for the whole day.
Well, I think we'll end with it. What was it? I think when I left you, it was like, lovely day, lovely day, lovely day, oh lovely day. Like a little bit of Bill Withers, right? Like he's just good stuff. So we hope everyone has a lovely day, and thank you for being with us for this conversation and showing your support and your kindness and your insights and your stories. We are so grateful, and we hope that this just sets your week on fire in the best positive way. And we look forward to seeing you on here in the comments and in messages. Yeah. So from the Rachels, bye everybody.
Yes. Thank you.